Okay, start from the beginning.
Hello viewers, welcome to another segment of our regular program on Forward TV towards 2023. My name is Marikana Ibiang and my colleague
Elizabeth Ofuan.
Forward TV streams live on Facebook and YouTube weekly to digest issues in our polity that affects the economic well-being of Nigerians.
On the program today, our guest, Engineer Engr YY Sani, Jakandan Lupe, the National Chairman of Action Democratic Party, ADP, will be x-raying some salient issues in the Petroleum Industry Act, which was signed by Mr. President recently. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Your Excellency, sir, as it was mentioned in our introduction, the Petroleum Industry Act is now in full force following President Muhammadu Buhari assent and signing of the former bill into law last week. What, in your own opinion, are the high and as well as the low points of this law? And most importantly, what does this mean to the man on the street?
Well, like we all know, the petroleum industry is an all-important industry as far as the economy of this country is concerned. Like we all know, when you look at the contribution the sector makes to the economy, it tells you that this is the one sector that, if there's any seriousness that should be shown by government, it should be demonstrated in that sector. Why? Because over 90% of our foreign exchange earning comes from that sector directly. Over 65% of our total revenue comes from that sector, meaning that revenue you get from FRS, the revenue you get from other productive sectors of the economy, agriculture, exports, and other exports that you normally, total revenue, services rendered, everything, 65% of it is from petroleum sector. So meaning that that is one sector, like I said, that government is very serious about. So, and again, the unfortunate thing is that we wasted so much time, especially this administration, whose head, that is the person of President Modi Buhari, who has had a stint in the petroleum industry since the 70s as a minister, a commissioner at that time, national commissioner of the petroleum industry, and who built, was instrumental to the construction of most of the infrastructure you have today, like refineries, depots, and what have you. One would have thought that when he won the election and came on board, it was the three points agenda that they came to pursue, which is corruption, uh, issue of insecurity, and issue of how to grow the economy. One would have thought that they should have used the petroleum sector as the pivotal of the achievement of those set objectives. Because if you can get it right in the oil and gas sector, as far as corruption is concerned, I've told you, 65% of our revenue comes from there. Aside from 65% of revenue directly from there, you have backward and forward linkages, with of other sectors with the railway industry, which is very, very huge. So, which means you can safely say that this economy today is run by the oil and gas sector. So, a president like the APC-led government should have concentrated on solving the issue of corruption in that sector, and by so doing, you would have two of the agendas would directly would have been solved. And in fact, by extension, even the insecurity thing would have been solved. Because if you can grow the economy, you don't have the pool of young people who are idle that these bandits and the other insurgents groups are using, to prosecute their war against the state. So the point I'm making, the high and low of it, like you said, what is the high of it? The high of it is that today, even though it has taken too long, we now have a piece of legislation that we can say, let us move from where we are. Where we are coming from, believe you me, if Nigerians are aware, believe you me, I mean, they'll be so annoyed with this administration that why didn't you do this thing when you came? The very year that you arrived on the scene, you should have made sure that this bill, is signed into law, so that would have been, like I said, the plank upon which you will now execute all your, 3 points agenda that you came with. You would have been able to grow the economy at the fastest rate that you can ever think of. You would have been able to chase, solve the issue of corruption, to a barest minimum. You would have been able to even stop this generating security situation that we have today. So that is the high point of it. The fact that it's an economic program, like I said, it is a piece of legislation that is aimed at redirecting the resources of this country to ensure that we take proper account of what God has given to us. Meaning that we want to a situation where every drop of the oil that we have counts, and we're able to account for every penny that we make from this oil, which is not the case until now. And the unfortunate thing again is that even in the putting together of the bill, it will appear that it's like people trying to emergency kind of thing, because a lot of things will have been done properly. But the stakes are very high in the oil and gas sector. And that is why the bill has suffered a lot of delays. It will get to the point of passage, by the National Assembly, and some interest will come and then disrupt the whole arrangement, with one flimsy excuse. So I want to commend the administration for at least, getting us to a stage of an act. It has always been a bill. It has not been, in front of the National Assembly discussing it and what have you. So, but the point we must not lose sight of is that, yes, we have a bill. What is of crucial importance is how do we implement this bill? The implementation aspect is what is very crucial, because still the implementation is still in the hands of the civil servants. People have the misgiving that the bill has completely made that industry to become an industry that has, legal framework now. It has governance framework. It has what you can call physical framework, and therefore you can now be able to control what is happening. But the point is this: this is not the first time we are having regulatory agencies in this country. Even as bad as this situation is, we had DPR, or we still have DPR, which is the Department of Resources, and we still have the physical, the agencies that are in charge of the issue of how do you monitor, the financial flow from that sector. You have a Canadian Federation, an office. You have the CBN, which keeps the money. You have Revenue Management Fiscal Allocation Commission that's supposed to monitor the inflow into Federation account. But the question you ask yourself is, these agencies of the government that monitor the financial flow, how linked are they? Are they online, linked for them to really know what is happening in this sector? The answer is no. Office of Canadian Federation, who owns the funds for the federation, does not know what exactly is happening in the oil and gas sector. Forget about the FAC meeting, and I mean the FAC meeting, which they normally have, where money is just given. They say, well, NNPC will come and say, we've made so much money. Nobody knows, how did you make this money? Who is monitoring how the money is even made? That issue is not yet solved, even as we speak today in the PIB. How do we ensure that the production sector, I'm talking about the engineering sector now, that NNPC sitting here in Abuja is able to monitor the production, what is coming, what is in the tanks, what is being exported? That issue is still not solved. So the issue is that, yes, we have a piece of legislation, but nothing yet has changed as far as who monitors, who controls, who gives accounts, on what we produce as oil and gas in this country. Like I said, what is the 90% of our first state earning, and what is 65% of our total revenue? Believe you me, Nigeria does not know, how much oil we produce, each day. So the high point is that we now have a legislation. The low point is implementation. It is still in the hands of the civil servants, even with the new regulatory agencies that they have put in place. You have the upstream, regulatory agency. You have the midstream and downstream regulatory agencies. These agencies are still going to be populated by civil servants, and it is not yet Uhuru, as people thought, it is. We are still not out of the woods yet, as far as corruption is concerned, as far as doing things haphazardly is concerned, because if it is government that is going to still monitor that aspect of the job, we are yet to get out of the situation that we're in this country. So the low point of it is that until we get it right by way of ensuring that you have people that will be accountable to Nigerians, and you are able to ensure that every penny that we make from the oil is accounted for, not by manual basis like it is happening today. You may not know, but still it's the paperwork that is being handled, is done in the oil and gas sector. And that we have an agency that to a very large extent is independent of the government, that tells us how much are we making and how much, like NAITI. NAITI is supposed to play that role, but NAITI is also, sort of handicapped because they can only bring out the issues, issues of audit, issues, exceptions, and things like that, and tell Nigerians that this is what is going wrong. Like they've been reporting every year, billions of dollars is being lost in that sector, and still the process aspect of the audit has not been put to correction as it's supposed to be, even though they have been highlighted. So this is probably a conversation for another day.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, sir. That's a big one. So let me just do quickly the second question, sir. What would be your advice to Nigerians as everyone prepares to face the challenges that may be associated with a new law?
Well, you see, when you look at the political aspect of the whole thing, that is where we are not really on a very sound footing as far as I'm concerned, because, like I said, it was an emergency, thing. If that bill had gone through the kind of checks and balances they're supposed to go through, perhaps we'll not have the kind of hue and cry. You won't have people, going up in arms, to fight the government, as is the case now. All the successive governors have come together now to possibly go to court. The communities that are supposed to benefit from 3%, of the expenditure by the oil companies are also, up in arms. The past may also go to court. There are so many people that are going to court on this issue. And in fact, even within the government themselves, the PIB, one of the objectives, of the three objectives of PIB, one is to ensure that you have accountability, you have transparency, and you have good governance. And you have separation of duties, because even the principle of civil service says that no one agency can start a process and end it without another agency of government, getting involved. But what you have today as PIB says that everything that happens in the petroleum sector should be handled by just one agency. So from there, you can see that that sector will become more opaque than it was before. And then one of the objectives of the bill is to open up the agency so that, the sector, so that Nigerians will now know what is happening there. They just made it to be more closed than it used to be. Because I'm aware of the department, which is supposed to supervise the metering aspect. And you see, the metering aspect is again, I think, another subject that we'll discuss, in another session, because metering is an instrument of trust. When you meter, that is to say that you have trust, in that transaction. In Nigeria today, there's no trust because there's no metering in the oil and gas sector. So there's no trust between Nigerians and those who are producing our oil, because we don't know how much they're producing, because they lack meters, credible meters. So you don't know, you own something, you don't know what is happening. So that's why I say we may have to address this in a different, session. But the issue is that Nigerians should wake up and demand, the kind of international best practice that we have in other oil producing countries. For instance, Gabon here, they have meters at the well heads, meaning that they have multi-phase meters, multi-flow meters that can tell you how much gas you have produced, how much water and debris have come out of that well. They also tell you how much oil you actually, produce. But in Nigeria, we don't have. So the same shell that is producing in Gabon with these meters is the same shell producing in Nigeria. And refuse to put a meter that will tell Nigerians how much exactly are we producing. So that's why I say we'll come to that, in another segment. But Nigerians should be alive to some of these things that the PIB try to pull, wool, our eyes. So the issue of the producing communities and the issue of 30%, which is for frontier, locations, is something that should have been handled in a much, much, much better way. Because if they had handled the way it's supposed to be handled, you shouldn't go to the producers, to say they should pay to the communities. No. What you should have done is to say, okay, let's take from the profits. That way you encourage, the investors to come in, because what you are now targeting is their profit. The declared profit is what you are targeting. But a situation where you say, if I want to invest $1 million, I'm going to, add to it, 3% of it that I will pay to the community without me even doing, just at the point of investment, I'm going to pay 3%, aside from other fees I may pay. So that in itself is a discouraging, approach, to attracting investors to Nigeria. So it's not properly, it wasn't tied, it should have been done like the case of Frontier, what do you call it? The 30% profit that they say they'll use for frontier basins that we are supposed to use so that we can grow our reserve. The community should have been paid from the profit, not from somebody who is coming to make an investment.
Wow. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your time with us. This is an eye-opener.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you, sir. Well, viewers, you have all heard from our guest, Engineer YY Sani, the National Chairman of the Action Democratic Party, ADP. I am pretty sure that the issues discussed will be addressed by the relevant authorities in order to achieve the noble objectives of the Petroleum Industry Act.
Well, that will be the size of our package for today. Let me thank very sincerely our guest, Engineer Sani, for making it down to our studio today and towards 2023 of the program. Let me also thank you, our viewers out there for staying tuned on our station, Forward TV, to discuss towards 2023.
Until we come your way again very soon on the same station to discuss more issues on our polity. On behalf of my co-presenter,
Elizabeth Ofwan,
my producer and director, the entire technical crew, and of course, all of us from the studio, we say
a
very big thank you and do have a wonderful day.
day.